Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Dodgeball podcast. I'm excited to be back and covering the Elite East Round 3 tournament that took place the weekend of June 9th, and here to help me do so, returning is Frankie, Amanda, and Andrew Zappala. Guys, thank you so much for coming back. Let's just go ahead and get into it. Let's just go ahead and get into the introductions. Frankie, begin with yourself, your name and team that you played for this round.
Sure. My name's Frankie Gianetto. I play for Team Awesome in Open and Night Shift in Co-Ed.
Awesome.
I'm Amanda Natalie. I typically just run the women's tournament, but that weekend I actually got the chance to step in and play with KO, and then ended up playing a little bit with Dynamite in co-ed.
Awesome. And new to the panel is Andrew.
Yeah, Andrew Zappala. I play for Anarchy for Open and co-ed.
Nice. And it's Zappala. We were kind of talking about that earlier, but you go by Zaps?
Yeah.
Awesome. Don't know if I'll ever call you by your last name, but good to know now moving forward. I was going to say Zappala, but it's just me being weird. But yeah, and also, Andrew, thanks for hopping on last minute. I know you guys came up a lot in the previous recaps, so it'd be cool to kind of get your perspective on what went down. But kind of just want to get started with like the general question, and we can start with you, Frankie. And that is, what was the biggest difference going into round 3 from round 2, if there is one?
Okay. So going through round robin, it was a lot of the same. The top 3-4 teams that were at the top, Awesome, Anarchy, and Brick Squad, showed up seeds 1 through 3 again. And then the playoffs happened, and just like round 2, I'm not going to say like hell broke loose, but it got a little crazy, and I know we'll go over the bracket specifically later, but going into round 3, Brick Squad kind of had the rings on lockdown as long as they didn't royally mess up, and they did that. So round 3 got really interesting, and by the end of the day, Anarchy was really dominant and won it. Gotcha.
And so I guess kind of going back to before all hell broke loose, did it feel like the regular rounds, or because I remember, and I'm trying to piece this together from round 1, it was a free-for-all, it was anybody's game, it was kind of like new territory. Then round 2 kind of tightened up a bit. Would you say that was kind of the same for round 3?
So I would say some of the teams you expected to do well did so instead of messing up like round 2. Awesome and Anarchy being 2 of the main ones there. There was a team that kind of crept through and finally burst top 4 with Aftershock, and then Go, who wound up winning the series, just stayed as consistent as always.
Gotcha. And then Amanda, how about you? What was one of the bigger differences that you noticed just overall?
I think there was a lot more pressure on teams in round 3 to perform because there was the point standing was so close that any of the top 3 or 4 teams could have taken it. So there was a lot more pressure to perform and do well. And the teams all look different too. Anarchy was missing some of their key players. KO didn't have Meg Fricker. Precision didn't have Danielle Zielinski. So the teams look different. So we didn't really know what to expect going into the weekend.
Gotcha. And then you also mentioned you got to play for this round, right?
Yeah. KO has been bitten by the injury bug. We lost Meg at round 1 to her knee injury, and then Jenny Hodge broke her ankle really early in round robin. And I happened to have my knee brace with me, so I took a little risk and strapped it on and played pretty conservatively, but played with KO for the rest of the women's division.
Gotcha. So obviously you didn't really get to play full strength, but you're able to kind of contribute to the team versus not having anybody at all, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I added a little bit of value, I think.
Gotcha. We can definitely get into that later too. Got some more questions popping up. But you weren't originally slated to return to the game till like after nationals, right? Like it was...
Yeah.
Was it torn ACL? Was that what it was?
Yep.
Slowly coming back.
Slowly but surely.
Yep. And how about you, Andrew? What was, I guess... you weren't here for the first couple of recaps, but what was the main difference for you guys, for your team going into round 3 from round 2?
Yeah, I mean, there was a few. I definitely can speak to us, and probably Awesome in the fact that both of us knew that we really needed to perform better. And round 2 is not an indication of how good both those teams are, as well as, a couple other teams. But, just coming into it, we had a different mindset, and leading up to it, we were practicing a lot more and making sure we were taking into consideration how we were playing and actually thinking about what we were doing, as opposed to just trying to go out there and win on talent alone. So kind of our approach just coming into it was a lot different. And, the loss at round 2 definitely, helped to kind of regroup a little bit.
Gotcha. It sounds like that's pretty much what you guys did. I'm going to pull up the old bracket here real quick. That loss was against GOAT, I'm assuming. Was it GOAT for round 2?
No, we lost to Tigers, and then Awesome knocked us out of the losers bracket at round 2.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, I think overall everyone knew kind of what was at stake in round 3, and there's even times where everyone was talking about what needed to happen for Brick Squad to get knocked out early enough for other teams to have a chance to win it. And then that actually happened and came to fruition. And then, we were talking about what needed to happen for, other teams to have a chance besides GOAT. And, credit to GOAT, they played well and made it all the way to the finals. So they locked down the title for this year for the East.
By a point, too. Like, it was real slim, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Looking at the article. And you're right, and that's my bad for forgetting or not remembering, but because I remember making the comment of when I was talking to Justin during the round 2 recap that when you're playing and you see a big team like Anarchy walking off because they're eliminated early in the game, I wonder what kind of psychological effect that has on you. So yeah, that's my fault. I remember now as I'm looking at the older bracket. What did you guys do exactly? Did you guys have like a post-tournament meeting, or did you guys just know you're gonna have to work harder for this coming round? Like, how'd you guys pull out of that?
Yeah, I mean, round 2, to be honest, during round robin, we pretty much just relied on our talent to win all our matches, and we only played GOAT out of like the top 4 or 5 teams from the East during that round robin, and got away again just playing based on that, and it's really just not enough. So, going into elimination at round 2, we just weren't ready to play, the style of dodgeball that we knew we were capable of. So we kind of regrouped. We talked about what we needed to do, and at times when we did play well, what we were doing. And the only games that we felt like we really played together as a team more was against Team Awesome in round 2, but they just were too good in that match, and Zielinski made some crazy catches in round 2. So we did regroup and practiced a lot in between, and just tried to figure out what was going to help us to kind of groove better and make sure that we were playing together as a team instead of just 6 individuals out on the court.
Yeah, and that's 6 individuals on a court versus a team. Like that seems to be a recurring issue with a lot of teams, right? You look at in any region, they're like, wow, how is this team struggling to not be the dominant force in that region? Like, there's 6 really solid players, but they're not functioning. Did you guys, like, in addition to practices, to try to get to that team mentality, what did you guys do exactly?
Yeah, it was just a lot of like smaller scenarios. I mean, we have a few pretty standout players on the team, but we did just a lot of 3v2s and 2v2s, things like that. Billy's obviously not out here to practice with, so that makes it a little more difficult. But when, for whatever reason, when he gets out there with us, he does groove in pretty quickly. But it was just us trying to do like a lot of walkthroughs, like making sure we were taking certain scenarios slower in our practices instead of just rushing through things.
Gotcha. Well, I was gonna say whatever you guys did, but it sounds like you guys did a lot of little smaller, fine tweaks and tuning up to get to where you are now. I don't see like a single loss in the bracket. Is that correct? Looks like they're all 2-0 when you guys finally got to
elimination. We were playing pretty well, so we didn't wind up dropping any actual games. GOAT almost had us in the earlier series in the winners bracket. That was a pretty close match, but we wound up pulling it out.
Nice. Cool. We could probably dig into that a little bit more, but let's go ahead. And one of the questions I wanted to ask, and we'll start with Frankie, is what teams really showed up? I was reading Tyler's article, and I think even Andrew might have mentioned Aftershock was a factor that kind of came out of nowhere, or would that be fair to say?
I wouldn't say it came out of nowhere. I would say they're kind of the last bubble team that never broke top four. So throughout this season, there's been a lot of teams that kind of always come in that like fifth to eighth range, like, the clutch modes and GOAT, who's now, I'd say, officially out of the bubble range, that, have crept up. They've cracked top four, and Aftershock finally got higher than fifth. They might have gotten fifth 4 out of the last 5 rounds, like going back even into last year. So I know they were really happy to crack top four. GOAT played consistent enough to get the rings and show they were the best or most consistent team in the East. I think Anarchy smacked the heck out of everyone, especially Mikey. And then Awesome kind of limped into the top four. I don't know if there were really any other teams to highlight. I think it was a disappointing round for a lot of the other teams. I guess Arkham played pretty well. I don't know if you have any other Zaps.
Yeah, no, I think those were probably the only two. Aftershock and Arkham both played pretty well. Night Shift played really well during round robin, but just had a tough draw, I think, in the bracket.
Gotcha. How about you, Amanda? Were you able to watch some of the Open games, or did you play? Was women's going on during Open, or how did that work out?
Yeah, women's happened during Open, but it ended early enough that I got to see the last couple games. Aftershock was playing really well. I think they gave GOAT a run for their money. Going into it, I wasn't really sure who was going to come out on top. I was surprised to see Night Shift got a 4 seed. So while I didn't see it, they definitely must have had a good round robin to be able to pull that off.
Gotcha. I did want to ask about, I think they finished 5th, clutch mode. And I think, was that clutch mode? Was that the team where that guy had the double catch? Was that Chris De Jesus?
Yeah.
So that was in Open?
Yeah, that was I think it was in round robin in Open or early in the playoffs. They went out pretty early this round because they had, I want to say, 14 points going into that weekend, and they only finished with 16. So they must have went out 9th through 12th.
Gotcha. And do you guys remember that double catch or the?
Oh yeah.
I think that was in bracket. Wasn't that when they knocked Brick Squad down or something?
No, yeah, sorry.
They played Brick Squad in the losers bracket, so.
Oh, okay.
It must have been that game.
Must have been either that game or round robin. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It was a typical double catch. Everyone sees it and screams, and it was cool. He did his thing where he falls on the ground and does it. It was definitely I know Elite posted the video. It's a pretty fun one to go watch.
Yeah, I caught that a few times. I didn't even see a double catch at first. Excuse me. I thought, because it was just randomly showing up on my feed, and I thought it was David Tate's for some reason at first. I was like, oh, this is part of East. I'm going to see what happens here. And I see Chris just rock back and catch a ball. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then I read doubles, wait, I didn't even see a second ball. So it's it looked cool, first of all. Secondly, it was a double catch, so that's pretty awesome. Who was that against? Do you guys remember by chance? Did I cover that already?
Brick Squad.
Brick Squad, that's right. Trying to see if I can remember any other plays that came through my feed, but going with Frankie, did anything else happen that was just truly remarkable, or?
So I would say Mikey was playing at another level that whole day. This is a round robin play, not elimination, but we played Anarchy in round robin, and he had a game where he had 4 hits and 3 throws, just gun down a corner, throw through their block, hit the next guy that takes over corner through his block. And I feel like he was doing that all day in Open and co-ed. I can't really think of any other specific crazy plays. I know crazy in a bad way, Brick Squad got eliminated by their last 2 players stepping out of bounds. So I'm sure they weren't very happy with that.
Yeah, you don't want to get out like that. That really sucks. I'm looking at, so reading Tyler's article, like Mike McGee was mentioned quite a few times, and maybe you can comment on this, Andrew. There was, it says he scored hits on 5 of the 6 players in game 1, and 3 more in game 2. Was he just on fire all day, or is that just normal Mike McGee stuff? Or can you kind of comment on that a little bit, if you can recall that match?
I mean, he actually started really slow during round robin, and we were really trying to get him going, and he finally picked it up right before bracket play, and then all through bracket he was just on fire. And I don't know, he has like this another level that he goes to sometimes, and you'll see it even in practice every once in a while, but he just gets this look and he hits someone, and you can just tell you need to get another ball in his hand right away, but he'll just, like Frankie said, he just started gunning people out. Definitely during that finals game, he took out a ton of people, and it's just helped us out a lot throughout the bracket. But he's also he was really hard to hit all day too, which made it really difficult on teams. They were just burning balls trying to hit him. Yeah,
so he's drawing fire, not getting hit, and just kept on giving you guys the majority of balls. I hate when that happens, because I'll use Ketchum as an example. Anytime, and it could be like rec or competitive, but anytime my team's playing against Andrew, it's like we forget there's 5 other people on the court, and you make that fatal mistake of trying to hit this one guy, and even if you do get him out, you lose majority of the balls, and you end up paying the price afterwards. It's different if you actually get him out, but it looks like in Mikey's case, he was just on a whole nother level. Has he always been like that, or is this just something recent with him?
No, I think he's always been like that. I mean, he's always had that extra level. I don't know if it's been fully taken advantage of before, but when he's on, and we do it with, any of our players, if anyone gets a hot hand and they're, getting outs and hitting people, then we want to feed them. So, it was just something that, we all recognized, and we're not going to let him stop until he cools down at that point.
Right. When he's on. Just keep feeding him balls.
Yeah.
I'm going to read this real quick from the article, and that's, could McGee have done it all himself? Maybe, but he didn't need to, thanks to strong corner play from Andrew Zappala. I'm just going to say Andrew Zaps, and middle play from Mike Caterino stood out to help Anarchy secure the victory. Do you remember that play at all, or what he's mentioning?
Yeah, vaguely. I hit a few counters throughout bracket play, and Caterino definitely starting to feel better from his knee injury, and he's getting a lot more power behind his throws. But it was just definitely more of an all-around team effort and team play than round 2. So everyone kind of kicking in. Brandon, of course, always has catches that are clutch. Armando made a couple good plays. Billy's always, gunning people out and making catches. But yeah, definitely just played better as a team this time.
Did Caterino get some catches this round? I was giving him crap for not washing his hands when he went to the bathroom, and then the next game I watched, he had 3 catches in one game, which is probably the most he had all year. So
he did have some catches. He got snubbed. They originally said in the player rankings that he had some good hands, and then they took it out. So he was looking to right that.
Yeah, I think his hands are back. 4 catches in a tournament for Caterino is MVP level.
Nice. Just kind of going through the rest of this article. Again, the only highlights I really saw was, and this is no offense to anybody that did well, but just from the Tribune, Cruz de Jesus with his awesome catch. TJ Jefferson from Z Warriors. Any of you guys happen to notice what he might have done that might have stood out, or you just have a pretty good day?
He's just a good catcher. He always makes some big plays out there with his hands, especially.
He plays their corner too. He's a pretty well-rounded player. He's solid. Best player on that team.
Gotcha. And how about TJ Manning?
TJ was kicking butt all day. When we played them in round robin, they beat us as well, which is the theme for us in this season. He had a play where he got the typical counter from the corner and then catch the counter on you. And then in co-ed, he's a monster with the no sting balls.
Gotcha. And then one name I remember I keep seeing is Alfred Kwan from Arkham. they're just saying that he has a pretty stellar arm. Can you guys comment on that by chance, or?
All I have to say on that one is thank God for him, because he's the only person that speeds up the play for that team.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's a good point, Zaps. They averaged.
He did play well, but.
So is he more like an aggressive player, like likes to play fast and not so much on the conservative side?
I don't know if I would even say that. He just actually, I mean, he doesn't take as much time as they do. I mean, he's a really smart player, and he played pretty well. It's good to see him back out there. I think he had missed round 1 or something, and I don't know if I saw much of him at round 2, but yeah, he's good to see him back out there, and definitely helped speed up their play a little bit.
Nice. Very cool. Well, before we move on to Nosting, Amanda, was there anything that you might have noticed that we didn't potentially cover, or just from your perspective? Did you want to comment on?
I think these guys covered it pretty well.
Gotcha. Actually, before we go into Nosting, I did want to I did have a question about like the points. Earlier, I made the comment that Anarchy just missed the first place ranking by 1. Frankie, can you kind of talk about like what happened and how it got so close? I mean, it's not even just a point between Goat and Anarchy. It's the same thing with Brick Squad and Team Awesome. So can you kind of comment on that?
Yeah, just to kind of summarize how it was going into the round, Brick Squad had, I want to say, 17 points. So they had at least a 3-point lead on any other team. So they were kind of the mindset of, if we get like 3rd, 4th place, we can almost shut the door on this series. Meanwhile, Anarchy, Goat, Awesome, Clutch Mode, Raw, and if they can just like go out at 5th or 7th place, we'll have a shot at this. And they fell to Goat in the winners division, and then Awesome in the losers, which opened the door for, if Anarchy won the tournament and Goat came in at least 3rd, Anarchy could win it. If Goat came in at least 2nd, they would win it. If Awesome won the whole thing, they would win it. It was actually a pretty exciting finish, and really kind of capped off the season with all the back and forth of the points. It's just a little unfortunate for Anarchy. They won 2 rounds, and then the misfire in round 2 really took the rings from them. I'd probably say they looked like the best team this year, but Goat was just so consistent and never had that bound round that everyone else had. So they got to 2nd place that day and just finished it off, and congrats to them and their rings they're about to get.
Yeah, definitely rewards them for their consistency and just being able to, like you said, avoid that round 2 slump, I guess, if that's how you wanted to classify it. Do you have any comments on that, Andrew?
Yeah, definitely kind of like everyone was tracking where Brick Squad was at. They dropped down to the losers bracket, and it happened to work out that they came in the exact place we needed them to. But to be honest, I mean, we weren't really thinking about that the entire day. We just wanted to win round 3, and that was the mindset we came in with, since we had such a long shot to do it anyways. So who knows if Goat, won a little bit once they got to the finals, because they knew they won the rings at that point. I can't really say on that, but yeah, we just wanted to kind of focus on round 3 at that point.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can kind of, I don't want to speak just for the West, but like, we're already looking at Doom and potentially, well, actually, I take that back, because Titan took 2nd, so they might have changed the scene a little bit. But normally, it's Doom and Rise are going to secure the 1st and 2nd place. So you want to have a strong round, but it doesn't really matter in terms of rings, because they're already kind of like predetermined. So it's kind of cool knowing that during round 3 for you guys, it was still anyone's game, and there was still that fierce competition to try to take the final or take it all, so to speak. But let's go ahead and get into Nosting for real this time, and let me just go ahead and start with Amanda. You played Nosting, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That was not the plan. We had 6 for the day, but as I said earlier, Jenny Hodge had a really just unfortunate and like bad misstep that resulted in her breaking her ankle. And she was pretty certain pretty quickly that she was, that she had broken something. So we carted her off to the hospital. And I made the decision. My team was super supportive. They just want to see me healthy. They're like, we can play with 5. It's fine. But I was like, no, I'll strap on my knee brace and step in and just kind of take a back seat, which, just have another body on the court. So got to play for she hurt herself pretty early in round robin, so got to play for most of the division.
Gotcha. And were you worried about re-injuring yourself at all, or were you just kind of playing at a decent, like...
I was worried in between games, but once the game started, I got into the game and typically forgot about it. So I realized, early on I got kind of overzealous. I think I was excited to be back on the court. It was my first time back on in over 7 months. And so I was, taking throws and whatnot. And then I realized that was really silly. So I handed off every ball I had from then on, unless everybody else had a ball in their hand as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can kind of relate, because 7 months is a long time to be out of dodgeball, especially when, Elite's going on, and when you're playing, you can kind of forget, I don't want to say where you are, but you can kind of forget, like, oh yeah, my finger's broken, I probably shouldn't be doing this, or, it's like act first and then think later. But thankfully you didn't like re-injure yourself and make anything worse. Are you do you think you're going to be able to play during nationals, or are you going to still kind of take it easy?
We'll see. I was dead set against it because my PT has been pretty adamant, as well as my orthopedic surgeon, about waiting the full year just to give myself the best chance of not re-tearing it. But I've just recently got fitted for like a sports brace, and it's like the best around. So I think with a few more months of PT under my belt and like an actual legit brace that's fitted to my knee, there's more potential to possibly play at nationals if needed. I think it'll probably be another like if I'm needed scenario.
Right.
I'm not going to go in search of a women's team. But if, at game time, someone needs a sub for women's, I'd probably step in.
You can be there. Did you let your personal trainer know that, or physical therapist know that you played?
No.
They're not going to find you on Facebook watching you play. I'm like, hey, what the hell are you doing? You can't be doing that.
I'm only friends with one of my PTs, so hopefully not.
Gotcha. Well, aside from the fact that you actually got to play, any other big differences from this division that you might have noticed between this and round 2?
Like I said, basically the biggest difference was just the teams. I don't think a single team had the same team throughout the entire series. I think every team changed from round to round, which definitely made things interesting because you didn't really know what to expect. We never fully knew what team to expect, which kind of changes the way you're going to attack the game. So definitely the constant roster change was probably the biggest difference.
Gotcha. And how about you, Frankie? What was there any major difference aside from what Amanda said that you noticed with the no-sting division?
Yeah, I think she's referring to the women's no-sting division, just for a little clarity. I know the roster shakeups in women's were a lot. I think Ashley was kind of the MVP round 1, didn't go to round 2, and then came back for round 3 and really helped Anarchy out. The injury to Jenny really hurt KO, especially with Meg already not being there. Not really sure with Precision. I know Danielle wasn't there, but I think they expected to still compete. I think Amber on on Precision got hurt as well. So yeah. I think, kind of Anarchy's to lose at that point with 2 injuries or no shows on each team at the top with them.
Gotcha. And that's my mistake. So were you referring to women's no-sting, Amanda?
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Well, we can stay on that division then, because I did want to ask one change that I think I noticed, and maybe you can kind of comment on this one, Andrew, was Ashley Cook was playing.
Yeah, she was just out for round 2. I think she was at the Canadian National Tournament or something, but showed up this round and played great again. So definitely helped them out. But the girls overall, I mean, Sammy and Mackenzie have been out there with us every week practicing and getting a lot better. So definitely can speak to the hard work that they've put in to improve this year.
Gotcha. And so was Ashley always part of the North, or was she, because I remember her being on the East, but that could just be me not remembering correctly.
I think she's always been in the North. I might be wrong on that, but I think this is the first year she's officially played in the East.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they don't have women, so she comes to the East for the women's division, or co-ed. The North is just open and pinch.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I forget how spoiled we are in the West, where we have like every division, every ball possible. There's no shortage of that. So did you get to see much of the women's division there, Frankie, that you can kind of comment on in terms of like other teams that stood out or plays?
I didn't really see much. We were playing at the same time. They did end pretty early, but we didn't really have a chance to get over there too often. I think Amanda's probably our best bet here to discuss specifics for women's.
Gotcha. And with that, let's just go right into that, Amanda. So what else did you notice, I guess player-wise or play-wise?
I think Anarchy came out of round robin in the top seed, which, again, not surprising. Ashley Cook was back. They had a majority of their team. They were missing Lauren and I think you say her name, Aaliyah. But they picked up Holly again, who's always a great pickup. So to see them come out in the top spot wasn't surprising. Like I said, Precision didn't have Danielle, and as Frankie said, Amber fell and hurt her shoulder, so she sat out for most of the tournament. I think she ended up jumping back in for the later rounds of the bracket just to give her team a sixth body on the court. But it felt similar to the other rounds in that, Anarchy, KO, Precision, and Venom were all in the top four. I think for KO, it was just like we couldn't figure our stuff out. We had hoped that round 3 would be where it would all click together, but we didn't have Meg Fricker, as Frankie said, she's off at basic training, and then to lose Jenny and have someone who hasn't played in 7 months step in and kind of change the dynamic that we had going, at least for the beginning of the bracket play. We couldn't figure it out in time, unfortunately. I think Anarchy was super dominant. I don't think Precision took a game off of them in the final matchup. So Anarchy just came through and held it down.
Just dominated.
Yeah.
So you mentioned points and then the final outcome. Like you guys tied with Precision. Is there like a tiebreaker for this kind of scenario, or did you guys just tie for second overall, or how does that work?
I would assume because they have a championship at round 2 that they would take the second spot over us.
Gotcha. So placement kind of factors into the overall outcome.
Mm-hmm.
I see. So let's go ahead and talk about any specific plays that you might remember, Amanda. I'm looking at in the article the all-tournament team, and it just says MVP Tasha Mabin from Precision. Can you kind of comment on that a little bit?
Yeah, Tasha had a great day. I remember when I started playing, I told the team when we were playing against them, usually our first two, our focus is on Sammy and Kim because they're the corners, but I noticed that Tasha had been playing great all day. But I think the reason she clutched the MVP spot was just in the losers bracket when KO was playing Precision. KO was up the first game, and there were 4 KO members in versus just Tasha, and she just one by one picked them off to cause game 3, and then game 3 Precision came back and won again, and so they went into the championship game versus Anarchy. But I think that's what really stood out in people's minds. Pretty much every team I talked to, when I asked them who they thought the MVP of the tournament was, they all immediately said Tasha.
Gotcha. Yeah, they'll do it. I mean, you leave enough of an impression on everybody, and they start saying your name. It's kind of one of those things, like it becomes a given. I'm also looking at the other names on here for the all-tournament team. Ashley Cook, no surprise there. Can you comment on your teammate Emily a little bit on why she might have made the all-tournament team?
Yeah, Emily's a really strong corner. She has a really, really sick pump fake. There are some people who I feel like you know when they're not going to throw, but with them you're really never quite sure. She's a super sick dodger. She's super hard to hit, and she pulls off some catches when you need them. So to see her on there is no surprise.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm not surprised either. I mean, she practices all the time with us, and she's like at practice playing corner against Mikey, things like that. So, and she's competing all day. And like Amanda said, you never know when she's going to pump fake or when she's throwing. She counters really well. So just a really strong player overall.
Yeah, that's funny because you can definitely tell when somebody's just pump faking and you're like, yeah, whatever, I'm not going to pay attention to you. But it's really disarming when they actually throw, like, oh crap, I wasn't expecting that. It's a good trait to have. And Kate Cairns.
Yeah, Kate. So we tried something new at round 2 where we put Kate in the middle. She had played at a tournament in LA and played next to Emily in the corner and like that. So we tried that at round 2, but she had done such a nice job against Ashley in round 1 being across from her that we put her back in the corner to give it another shot. And she played well. I think she threw a few more catches than she would have liked. Ashley is really good at baiting people into throwing at her, and she's a really great catcher. So, I mean, we talked through it, and it didn't really happen, again, much after round robin, but I think Emily really dominated in the corner position for KO at round 3.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's pretty cool to see because there's another Anarchy member, Michelle Radley, and I think we kind of talked about it last recap. Mm-hmm. And then Ashley Guevara, probably just totally butchered her name, even though I mean, she played in Arizona, so I should know better. But I'm not surprised to see those as alternates. Does anything happen with these alternate teams, or is it just kind of like an honorable mention?
I'm not sure. I mean, I know that we're going to pick the East all tournament team or whatever for nationals, and it's the same, 9 or 10 names that keep popping up on it. Right. So I wouldn't be surprised. I think obviously they only take the top 6, but I think it'll at least help narrow it down to get the top 6 when you see the same names consistently on these lists.
Very cool.
Does Tyler actually have any pull in those, or is that being decided by captains again?
I would assume by captains, but I mean, this is a good reference point because I don't recall what happened, 3 months ago in March at round 1.
It's funny because in interviewing some people, they don't even recall what happened last weekend. They're like, oh, it was just such a blur. I just had bloodlust and forgot everything, and next thing you know, we won. But it's good that some of this stuff is being documented finally. We can kind of use that to kind of attribute to what's going to happen for nationals. Actually, before we go into No Sting, I did have one quick question. So these standings, do they, I don't sound like a jerk, but do they mean anything for these other divisions for women's?
Yeah, so the women, the top team, Anarchy, will get the rings at nationals this year. Oh, nice. And from what I understand, the top 4 from the East and the top 4 from the West will get, one of the top 8 seeds at nationals. I don't know how it's going to work because the North is attempting to hold their first women's division, I think, at round 3, which is coming up pretty soon. But it's going to be a 4v4, so I'm not really sure how that will play into it. But from what I understand, the seeding that comes out of this will affect seeding at nationals just like it does for Open.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, that's always, I think that's been a staple, but it was the rings that's like a new thing, at least for other divisions, so that's awesome. Very Very cool. So let's go ahead and actually get into no sting, and my fault there for not specifying, but good catch, Frankie. Let's go ahead and start. Actually, Frankie, you can go ahead and begin. Moving into no sting now, what was one of the major differences that you noticed overall?
Yeah, so the most obvious difference is that Brick Squad won no sting. So Anarchy, Brick Squad, and Awesome have kind of went back and forth for the top 3 spots in no sting every single tournament, and I'm pretty sure each team won one of them. So that was pretty cool to see. There are teams like Goat, who normally doesn't do as well with no sting, that I think placed maybe like 7th. So I know they were super happy with that. Aftershock, who normally does pretty well in no sting, I think they came in 4th. So that's 2 top 4 finishes for them in one day. So sure, they're really pumped. And then I know this one was fun because round robin, I think Awesome was probably the most dominant. But then when it came to bracket play, it completely flipped, and both Anarchy and Brick Squad beat Awesome pretty soundly, if I recall.
I'm looking at their bracket right now. Looks like they kind of had a pretty good start in the bracket play, and then, yeah, as you said, Brick Squad took them out. And where'd they go afterwards?
Yeah, Anarchy finished them. I know they beat Anarchy to put them in the losers brackets, and then I think coming for 3rd place, Anarchy knocked out Awesome. I'm sure Zaps can comment on that. To me, it just looked like another Mikey show. Kid was just on fire that day.
Jeez. Do you have any comments on that, Andrew?
Yeah. I mean, I would say Mikey and Katarina was actually throwing really well during no sting too. Just kind of more riding the hot hands during no sting, but yeah, they did beat us in the winners bracket, and then kind of worked our way up. And then the finals, Brick Squad was playing really well. We actually pretty much had him dead to rights, and then Sean hit a ball that bounced off Billy and then landed right on top of Mikey. So hit both of them in one play and kind of swung that game around for him.
Gotcha. Just laughing because I hate when that happens.
Yeah, it was not ideal.
No, it never is. Oh, there you are. I found you in the bracket. Okay. And then how did your team do, Frankie?
We did well. Night Shift has been kind of like a bubble team, not quite cracking top 4, but I think we came in 5th. We had a hard loss against DIY, which is a team led by some of the Space Cadet guys like Adam DeMeyer and then Ed Aponte. And then we had a good run in the losers bracket. I think we knocked out 2 or 3 teams. Emily Hotz, who we discussed earlier, and TJ were both playing really great. Sam Jones playing pretty well too, but we ran up against Anarchy, and yeah, wasn't close. So we came in 5th, which pretty good. Would have liked to come in at least 4th.
Gotcha. It looks like once Anarchy got down to the losers bracket, they just dominated everybody on the way up. So Andrew, when you guys are playing no sting and rubber, is there like a much of a difference or a transition for you guys? Or are you kind of consistent regardless of the ball type?
I mean, the biggest difference is that we have all 6 of our guys for co-ed as well. So, I mean, once we get into bracket play and we have a hot lineup, we're just trying to ride the hot hands at that point. So, I mean, like round 2, I didn't play as much of bracket play as I would have liked to, but we had a hot lineup in there and they were playing great. So we just kept them in. And then this time around, you know, I was in there almost every game, and the other 3 guys that were in there, Katarina was playing great this time. And Billy and Mikey obviously always playing pretty well. So, but yeah, it's pretty similar play. I mean, for the most part, we're always trying to play the same style. It's just a matter of trying to figure out who's actually going to play each game for co-ed.
Right, because you said you had 6 guys. So
yeah, we take all 6 from our open team for co-ed.
So you're rotating 2 out each, and that doesn't throw you guys off, like synergy-wise, or was it just something you guys kind of work out as you go?
Yeah, I mean, it can. It's just like I said, like once we get into the bracket play, we try to stick to like 4 or 5, and whoever's we're all willing to, for the most part, recognize whoever's not playing well and then rotate people in and out.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've been there a few times with some of my traveling co-ed teams back in the past. We've had 6 people, and I know that it's like, while we're swapping out like half our team, this is kind of rough, but it's kind of cool to have an extra 2 people to choose from, though. Like if you're playing the hot ones or the hot hand, as you say, you can definitely play people that are on, and let people that are cold kind of just sit back and coast.
Yeah, it's a nice option to have.
Yeah, definitely. And so you guys placed first overall for no sting? Am I reading this correctly?
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't quite look through those standings, but yeah, I think we came in first, second, and then second. So, but like Frankie said, it was it was pretty even for co-ed this year, where we won a round, Awesome won a round, Brick Squad won a round.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if that's what makes, because even just like open and women's, there's like a 1 point difference between second and third. I think that's awesome. Well, even like Aftershock and Night Shift Precision, like there's isn't too much of a gap, at least from fourth downward. And obviously, no sting doesn't get rings. Will this impact nationals at all? And Andrew or Frankie or Amanda, any of you guys can take that one. I'm just kind of curious on how that works.
I don't think it impacts nationals. I think it's just kind of
For pride.
to give the East Coast a second division to play and make everyone happy.
Gotcha.
I think it's nice to figure out your team before getting to nationals and getting some playing time, because the West Coast, just like they do in Open, has some really dominant co-ed teams. So to be able to kind of figure out what works, what doesn't, and get some playing time together, because a lot of our teams, I don't think all live near each other and can practice together regularly. So to get some playing time, at least against some other good teams, is nice to have that before nationals.
Gotcha. So it's, yeah, I won't say like it's not for nothing. I mean, there's still the pride of seeing where you stack up, and then, like you said, the chance to get to know your squad before you take it to nationals, because that's just the next step. But and this is kind of why I get thrown off a little bit when I do these recaps, because I'm so used to West Coast with rubber, and I don't really know how no sting fits in. But that's just more of like a personal bias of mine, because like even for us, co-ed rubber, it doesn't count, but we're still going to take that same squad to nationals with that intent to hopefully win. So kind of cool to see that that's happening on the East as well. Reading Tyler's article, and I don't know if you've already covered this a little bit, Frankie, but looks like your team did get the shout out for the Spotlight team. Was there anything that you guys did differently from this round versus last round, or did you guys just finally kind of come together to get that mention?
I think we were pretty consistent across all 3, but this round we did really good at closing out games. I can remember a game where it was Hots and I against a full team, and it was in losers bracket. Game 3 closed it out. There was a game where Kate and Sam against 4 or 5, losers bracket, closed it out. I know Hots had I think on Jeff Giovinco in round robin, she got like a catch to finish a game. I think we just we were all playing at our best when we needed to. And then we almost, I'm not going to say unstoppable, but we felt really good. And then Anarchy just smoked us.
Gotcha. It was just their day.
Yeah, couldn't get Mikey out. And in no sting, it's a little more scary because in 8.5, he's got to really spot the ball just in case someone catches it. But in no sting, he just flings it and destroys people. I gotta stop talking about Mikey. Let's talk about other people. Talk about Brick Squad. They won. Zaps, go ahead.
I guess aside from Mikey,
just had a few pretty clutch plays, and they were all playing solid. I mean, Jeff's very good at no sting, and so is Sean. His throw is much stronger in no sting than 8.5, and same with most of their team. They're pretty good on the tramps too. So, but yeah, they played great.
Yeah, looking at the All-Star team, I think a fun person to call out would be Wyatt on Aftershock. We haven't really given Aftershock a lot of love individually, but he's got a monster arm, and I know a lot of teams when they game plan against Aftershock, it's kind of get Wyatt out and then just try to outplay the rest. Because if you leave him in, they're going to have a really strong arm through the middle.
Gotcha. And so let's look at who made the men's all tournament team. So you got Mikey, of course. I think this is Drew, right? I'm looking at the
Yes.
kind of tell them apart. Who's this from GOAT?
Dre.
Actually, you want to go ahead and just list them off because I'm going to fail at this point.
Yeah, sure. It's the all tournament team that the Tribune article selected was Mike McGee, Drew and Matt Giovinco, Dre from GOAT, Sean from Brick Squad, and then Wyatt from Aftershock.
Nice. And I noticed that this is a no sting. So was there an all tournament team for rubber, or is no sting kind of like the dominant ball that you guys use?
No,
No.
that was just overall between the two, the guys.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. So ball didn't really have much of a factor.
Yeah, it's the same thing for women's.
Gotcha.
I think Tyler's just always kind of looking for who had the best day overall, women's and co-ed.
Oh, okay, cool. Just because they're all holding no sting balls, so I was like, why is this? But very cool. Yeah, the only person I don't recognize name wise, or the only two was Andre, Martin, and Wyatt, as you said. But the team names obviously have been coming up a lot. So
I think Dre. I remember Dre from a couple years ago playing against him in the East. I think he might have taken a year or maybe more off and just came back again. But Frankie might have more knowledge about that than I do.
Yeah, he used to play on Power Lords. It was him and Justin Bosch and some of the brothers, the Huthenzels. And then he made GOAT with some other New York guys, Lewis and Spencer, and sure I'm missing some others that were originally on GOAT, but they have Dan now as well. And he's a huge arm. He's got a really scary throw. It's straight, so you can get to it, but it's so hard. Like, if you catch him, it hurts. It's almost not worth it.
I know those throws, like it's just like a solid beam of energy. It just sticks you. You're like, ow, my soul hurts.
That's a perfect way to describe it. I'll make sure he listens to that.
Yep. They did mention Spencer and Alfred, so they also made I guess the alternates were it was TJ Manning, Spencer, and Alfred. Kind of based on what we covered with them. Not too surprised to see them make it on there. I will say though, and I hope I don't stir the pot here, I was kind of surprised not seeing Billy on here. Does he mesh well with the East, Andrew? Because I've known Billy on West Coast teams most of his career. So is it pretty easy playing with him, or does he sync well with you guys, or how does that work out?
Yeah, I mean we all play really well together with him. So I mean, in terms of our team, yeah, he plays great with us, and we've learned how to play with him, and he knows how to play with all of us. But I mean, in terms of vibing with the East, I don't know if he's necessarily the most popular person.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on that.
I think the expectations for him are pretty high, and I don't know that he's stood out a lot this year, so I think that's why he's not getting mentioned. I think Brandon was probably the standout for Anarchy the first two rounds, and then Mikey this round. Billy's obviously amazing at Dodgeball. I think the expectations are a little high, so that shoots him in the foot. But I mean,
Billy played great. Billy played pretty well this tournament overall. But like I said, we're happy to have him. We love playing with him. So
it's a good addition or a good asset.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. So before we transition to Showdown, was there anything else that you guys, this can go to any one of you, that took place for No Stage you wanted to mention?
Yeah, we had, it was kind of like a funny moment, but we were playing against Awesome, and Mikey threw a no-sting ball, one of the hardest I've ever seen him throw, and Christine was kind of just watching in the background and somehow managed to catch Mikey with like one hand while holding her camera, and it was like the most casual thing I've ever seen, but it was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, I was on the sidelines at that point, and just a little background, Christine is my fiance who loves to watch Dodgeball and support our team, but absolutely hates playing. She broke a bone in her hand getting hit by one ball last round. So there's the background on that. She's just kind of filming, and Mikey's ball flies in and sticks behind the camera, and you just hear on the video go like, ooh, and then everyone in the gym, like game stops, just loses it. The video's online. It's pretty funny.
I gotta check that out. So just like one hand, no big deal. Oh,
yeah, so casual, like Zap said. It was really funny.
So basically, is she gonna be playing next year after some conditioning? And Amanda, you're saying no?
No, she tries to like dress really nice so no one asks her to play. Like, because on the East, a lot of times we'll have a woman drop for co-ed and a team needs another girl, so she'll come to Elite wearing like heels and like things like that so that no one will ask her to play.
There's no possible way they can drag her out there last minute.
No, I won't let her know that you said she might play. That might make her upset.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can't wait to check that out. You really played up the whoo part, so I can't wait to see that too. It's like, oh, look at this. I just caught a 90-mile-per-hour fastball with one hand. No big deal. And saved the camera. Looking forward to that one. So real quick, did want to talk about Showdown. I know I asked this already, so I apologize for being redundant, but Frankie, you didn't play, right? Or were you still in it?
Oh, I did not do Showdown, but we have a Showdown expert on the panel this time, so.
Right. And this is honestly the whole reason why I wanted you on here, Andrew. I wanted you to talk about that one thing that I think we all saw. But, here we go. I just pulled up the bracket from last division, or last round. Yeah, so Andrew, you want to go ahead and kind of just walk us through how Showdown went for you? Like, I guess you're the only one here, so you had Tyrell Trail.
Yeah. So he plays for Mount Olympus, but gave me a pretty tough match actually. He's a pretty young, athletic guy, so it's good to see some new people in Showdown. But it was a challenge, and then I beat him 3-2. Mikey, I think, won 3-0 against another Mount Olympus guy, and then we met in the finals. So coming into that, I basically in my head, my only real shot to beat him was if I could catch him at least once or twice, and if he stepped over the line at least once or twice on top of that.
Which he did.
Yeah. So I guess getting to what you're probably hinting at is he stepped over the line probably, I think, when he was up 1-0 or 2-0 or something, and he absolutely smoked me in the leg when he did it. The video is pretty funny. He, like, stopped before he threw and said, "Sorry, Zaps," and then just unloaded one on me. And then it turned out he stepped over the line. Then I think the next one I caught him, so it evened up. And then the last one he actually stepped over the line, so I technically had beaten him, but just didn't really want to win that way, especially for something like Showdown.
Right.
Just didn't feel like I would have earned it at that point, so I kind of made him reset, and then we played it out again, and more so just wanted to catch him again, but that didn't work out in my favor. So
yeah, I had to watch it a few times because I was just trying to figure out what exactly happened, and it took me a while to realize that Mikey had stepped over, and then as soon as I realized what was going on, I was like, oh wow, that's really freaking cool of Andrew, and I've never met you personally, so I didn't really know what to base your style off of. But without getting all bro-y or whatever, like, my respect for you just shot up like through the roof, because that's really cool. You want to win, I don't want to say like the right way, because you technically did, but you want to fight for it, right? You don't want to win on a technicality or something like that's not as climatic as stepping over the line. Do you regret that at all, or are you pretty happy with the fact that you took that call back?
No, I don't. There's no regrets at all on that. I mean, I don't want to win from someone stepping over the line in Showdown. I mean, if Frankie walks out the back line during open, then he's out. See you later.
Right.
But for that showdown, it just didn't feel right to win on that kind of note. So I'll take one where he stepped over the line, but not on it was tied 2-2. I definitely wanted to earn it a little bit more than that. So, but I think he'll do great at Nationals this year. We're talking about possibly, installing some of those lines for like the invisible lines for dogs and putting like a shock collar on Mikey or something. So maybe that would help him. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you might regret it a little if he steps over the line again at Nationals. I know Nationals last year, he stepped over the line 2 or 3 times in one series. So we got to get that cleaned up. I want an East Coast winner.
Amanda's like...
Yeah, he did tell me he would pay me $20 every line he steps over at Nationals. So it's a win-win for me.
Amanda, you're just like shaking your head all like...
Yeah, Mikey's like my little brother, so I love watching him play dodgeball. But it's so frustrating to see him continuously do the same stupid over and over again. Because as I said, he did it at Nationals. And we were even talking to him beforehand, and we're like, don't step over the line. It's right here. But yet again, he did it. They purposely had someone watching the line because they knew he was going to do it.
Sabotage. It's rigged.
Yeah.
That's good. That might be good to know for teams looking to face off against him. Just like, hey.
He doesn't do it in games. He only does it in Showdown.
Huh. That's funny. I wonder if he just like sees red or just goes into Mikey mode, whatever he taps into, and he just doesn't recognize boundaries. Or that's funny.
Yeah, the lines. In fairness to him, the lines were like this neon orange type color that like kind of blended in with the surface a little bit, but I still shouldn't have stepped over twice. So.
Oh man, well, it'll be fun to watch it all play out in real life instead of watching on Facebook. So I'll be watching that line when he's playing. Well, very cool. Well, let's before we wrap up, I did receive a question from Vaughn Kelly, and I think it was a pretty good one. And I do want to ask each of you this one specifically, and we can start with you, Frankie, and that is wrapping up the regional competitions. How do you feel about your team heading into nationals?
All right, so I think this is the first really disappointing year for Team Awesome. We've either come in first or second every year. We've attended all 3 rounds, so I think we were expecting that again going into this year. This really stung. I think looking towards nationals, we're looking to clean up some of the issues we've had. I think we've been pretty easy to hit. When competitive dodgeball players talk about dodgeball, it's all about throwing and catching, but I think we need to get back to that dodge principle and just make sure we're not getting out too easily so we can try to keep ourselves on the court. And even having a bad year, it's nice that we still came in the top 4 so that if we perform well enough at nationals, we'll get a pretty high seed. And I think we're aiming, just like always, to try to win at nationals. We came in 3rd 2 years ago, 5th last year, so don't count us out. But we're definitely disappointed with this season.
Gotcha. And you guys, you have 2 whole months to kind of practice and get some, I guess, like tune-up tournaments out there and kind of figure yourselves out before nationals come up. So I realize it feels like the season kind of ended short with that 2-month gap. But yeah, hope you guys pull through and take the time to figure out what you guys need to. And you get, again, 4th overall, not bad. Whoops, just in my microphone. That's still not a bad finish though. Amanda, you're kind of like shaking your head a little bit when Frank was talking.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
I'm not really sure what nationals will look like for us. Our team is going to look drastically different than it did last year. We had what I thought was one of the best East Coast teams going into nationals. We did pretty well against the West Coast teams in round robin. We just didn't play well in the bracket play. But then this year, obviously, we had some changes when I hurt my knee, and then Megan hurt herself, and then, enlisted. And now with Jenny out, there's just a lot up in the air right now. We got to kind of sit down and figure out what the team is going to look like for nationals. because while it is 2 months away and there is the possibility that Jenny could be back for it, it's always hard coming back after an injury. You don't play the same way the first time you step on the court. It takes you some time to get used to it again, to feel comfortable again. So I think we just got to figure out as a team what our team's going to look like and what the plan's going to be.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's I think you hit it on the head there. It's recovering from an injury. It doesn't mean you're back to the way you used to be prior to the injury. You still have your own like kind of learning curve to go through before you get that confidence back. And how about you, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, as a team, we're feeling really good. The best we've felt all season. I mean, we're playing together more as a team now at this point, and starting to feel a lot more comfortable. It is our first year with all of us together, so we knew that there was going to be some adjustment period, but we're really happy with where it's at, and we're all working hard to continue getting better. The team's definitely hungry, and we definitely want more, so we're excited for the opportunity. We're going to be playing at West Coast round 3, so we're looking forward to that challenge and trying to step up to the plate there, and then hopefully again at Nationals.
Oh, crazy. So you'll be in San Diego in a couple weeks?
Yep, yeah, the whole team's going to be out there.
Ooh, that's going to be interesting to see happen. Very cool. And that was actually, I did have a quick following question. Was there any other events that you guys have between now and finals? And I can go to...
Yeah, I can go first. I don't think Team Awesome as a whole will be playing at anything between now and finals, but as far as a lot of players from the East Coast and everywhere else, there's just the Combine last weekend for the USA Dodgeball team. There's a Stonewall tournament coming up in New Orleans that I know a bunch of No Sting players from the East Coast are going to. I think, and then of course UDC is coming up, and a lot of East Coast teams play there. And then, like Zap says, Anarchy's heading out to the West to do an elite round.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Kate Cairns and I had been throwing around the idea of hosting a co-ed tournament sometime between June and August, knowing that teams would get, a 2-month break, and it might be nice to have a tune-up in that 2 months. But it's so hard to find time because, like Frankie just listed, there's so many major events coming up. It can't fall in any round that any of the, round 3s are happening in. You don't want it too close to Nationals. You don't want it too close to UDC. And we just realized pretty quickly that there's just really no good time to do it.
Gotcha. Yeah, so, I mean, it's just because Elite Round 3 is over, it doesn't mean competitive dodgeball just in general is done for you guys. There's still a lot to work with and choose from. Very cool. Well, that's all I've got. Vaughn, thank you so much for submitting that question. Again, last minute, I think that's a good one to kind of just send off all the players that we talked to for the oncoming rounds. But Amanda, Frankie, Andrew, thank you guys so much for hopping on again. It was really cool having like a consistent panel and being able to change it up a little bit with Justin and then now Andrew. So I appreciate you guys coming out and spending some time out of your evening to talk dodgeball with me. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. That was a quick recap of the Elite East Round 3 tournament that took place June 9th. And huge thank you to Frankie Gianetto, Amanda Ashley, and Andrew Zapps for hopping on and helping recap the events. Sorry, Andrew, I'm not going to butcher your name this time. But all in all, I'm very happy to be back podcasting again. Definitely have some cobwebs to shake off, but really excited to be covering the next events that come my way. Dodgeball is just it's just awesome, and I like talking about it. So anyway, that all being said, hope you guys enjoyed today's episode, and have a great rest of your Friday, a great weekend, and we'll see you next time. Definitely need to shake off the cobwebs. Okay.